Alright, so today we're talking about inequalities. What is the root word to inequality? Kayla. Equal. What does an equal sign do with two numbers? What does an equal sign do?
It shows that they're the same.
It shows that they're the same. Are all numbers the same? No. So an equal sign is great because if they're the same, bam, they're equal. That's how they would compare to each other. But we can't always use an equal sign. So we have other symbols that would add to make the word inequality. All inequalities is a comparison of two numbers. So an equal sign would compare them because they are the same. All right, a lot of y'all have seen these symbols before down here. All right, I've heard people call them the alligator symbols. The alligator always eats the bigger number. But we need to know the more technical term for the symbols. Does anyone know what this symbol would be called? Raise your hand. Christy? Less than. This is our less than symbol. That is our less than symbol. Does anyone have trouble remembering which one is less than and greater than? Raise your hand if you have trouble sometimes telling if it's less than or greater than. Like I know which way to make it face, but when I read it, that comes hard, okay? All right. So kind of a couple of tips. I guess the regular way to teach it would be when you read a sentence, you go from left to right. When I read this symbol, I start on the left, which is the small pointy side, which is why it's less. And then it goes to the big open side. All right, another easier way, this is what I have to do. All right, I want everyone to make an L with your left hand, because your left hand makes a capital L. Some of us remember our left and right with that capital L. I do. All right, so if I make a capital L with my left hand, and then if I pinch it together, what symbol did that just make? Less than, which starts with an L. So if I pinch my capital L together, it makes a less than symbol. Do y'all see that? L, less than. L, less than. Okay? So that's another way to help you remember which symbol it is. Yes, Kayla.
For inequality, wouldn't quality be the word in it?
So that it-t at the end is not part of a root word. The root word is just kind of what's in the middle. The n at the beginning is a prefix. I think that's what that's called. Suffix?
Prefix at the beginning.
Right. So the n at the beginning is a prefix. The t at the end would be a suffix. I think that's right. Check with your English teacher on that. I'm trying to get grammatical in here, and I teach math. Okay. So yeah. So we'd have prefix, suffix, root word. Yeah. Cool. Okay, see, look, I'm learning stuff too now. It's exciting. All right, so this is the less than sign where we have our L, pinch it together for less. This symbol is going to be our greater than sign. All right, the greater than symbol, if I read it from left to right like a sentence, I come up to the big side first, which is why it's greater. There's no cute pinching thing to do for a G. So use your pinching to remember less than. If it's not the L, then you know that it's greater, right? All right. So for these examples, we're going to compare our two expressions. So for number one, I'm looking at 8 and negative 5. What symbol would I want to put in the middle of those? Connor Canal? A greater than. 8 is greater than negative 5. When I read the sentence from left to right, does that read correctly? No. All right, number 2. Now, before I can put my answer for number 2, you'll know I can't see in your brain. I can't see what you're thinking. So what would you want to write down to show me what we need to think about before we actually put our symbol? Josh?
Absolute value.
Yeah, so we need to look at the absolute value. And what's my absolute value going to become?
24.
24. So, guys, I can't see this in your head. I want you to write it down. It's not a whole lot. Just write that down for me so I can see it. When I write my symbol, I'm still putting it in the problem. Does that make sense? So my symbol still needs to be talking about the absolute value, but I need to know that, hey, Brianna knows that's a regular 24 once I take the absolute value, all right? So when I compare it, what symbol would I want to put here? Brianna? A greater than. So the absolute value of negative 24 is greater than 6. And even when I read my answer, I'm reading it like the problem says it. This is just what was done in my head that I wrote down so Miss Sawyer can see it. Yes?
So, the bars, like, how would you put it in the
Yeah, so these bars, that's the absolute value bars that we talked about yesterday. And if it has those bars around it, you have to make it positive. Okay? All right, what about number 3? What would I need to do on number 3 first? Macy?
The absolute value is 8.
And what's the absolute value of 8? 8. And here you're just showing me, hey, I know that doesn't change. It's already positive, so it stays that way. What symbol would I want to put in between these two numbers? Kyrie? The greater than symbol again. So the absolute value of 8 is greater than negative 2. All right, what about number 4? Negative 11. How does it compare to 3? Danny? Less than. Negative 11 is less than. So there's my pinched L, or turned L. Okay. So the negative 11 is less than 3. What would I need to do on number 5? Number 5. Aiden? Okay, before we do that, what do I need to see? The 2. So the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. And how did you say they compare, Aiden? They are equal. So I would say the absolute value of negative 2 is equal to 2 because we see they match. All right, and then the last one, number 6. Emma King? Greater than. Negative 10 is greater than negative 99. Okay, how does that work? Because 99 is clearly the bigger number. Kinsley?
Because, like, 10 is higher, so that it's closer to 0, which is, like...
So this negative 10 is going to be closer to 0 than 99. We agree with that, right? Which means this negative 10 is going to be closer to 0, which means closer to my positives, which make our big numbers, okay? So this is correct on number 6. So you kind of have to think backwards. If it's negative, turn it into opposite day. Remember that back from like elementary school?
Yeah.
It's opposite day. Okay, anyway. It's opposite day. So that means I'm not going to... Anyways, okay. So moving on. Number 1 and 2. So guys, now we're still comparing them. We're just not using the symbols. We're just writing them out from least to greatest. So this would be how they would look on the number line. All right. So on number 1, which number is the least? Which number is the least? Chandler. Negative 3. And I'm going to mark that out once I do that. Your homework is in the book. So if you mark anything out in the book, make sure you're using a pencil and you can erase it clearly. All right. Write it really lightly and then erase it. If you can avoid writing in the book, that's the better option. All right. What's going to be next after negative 3? Aubrey. Negative 1. And after negative 1, Tucker. What's going to be after negative 1? So we're going from least to greatest. 0. And after 0, Cheyenne.
5.
5. Very good. So we have to switch gears once we get there. And now we're going up again. So after 5, all right, my last number, Owen. 6. Okay. All right, number 2, we're still going least to greatest. What should I start with, Emmanuel? Negative 9. Okay, after negative 9, what am I going to have? Rubian? Negative 3, getting closer to the 0, closer to the positives. After negative 3, Kayla Brown? 0. And then we'd have our last number, which is 6. Okay? All right. So, guys, the key thing is, after you finish writing them least to greatest, kind of pause, mentally reset before you start doing greatest to least, or you might keep doing them the same way. So we want to take a little pause, mental break, reset our brain, and now we want to go from greatest to least. So this is the opposite of the number line. We're going to start with the biggest number possible. What's the biggest number on this problem, Morgan? 11. And after 11, Brianna? 3. And after 3, Josh?
-4.
-4, because it's closest to the positive number, it's closest to 0. And then after -4 is my last number, -25. Okay? Number 2, going greatest to least. Connor Cannell. 30. I'm glad you said that because I almost tried to put -18, even though I just said greatest, biggest number, positive, big. All right, what's going to be next? Danny. 3. And then next, Delaney.
-6.
Close, look closely.
2.
The 2, there is a positive kind of squeezed in there. So we have the 2. Now I can put, Kayla Thrasher,
-6.
the -6. And then my last number left is -18. Okay. Your homework tonight is in your textbook. I'll put that up on the screen in just a minute. Before we do that, though, guys, I have one thing that you have to do before you leave that you're going to turn in to me. All right, we're going to do a checkpoint, which means if you don't get them all right today, you'll get it back tomorrow for me to check again for you to get all the points. Before I give you the checkpoint, though, I realized in my first class that we might need to kind of talk about these real quick. So these are different numbers. You don't have to write this down. This is just so that we can talk about it before you have to do it on your own. All right? Number 1's giving us a graph to graph the following numbers on a number line. In fact, I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop this video and do this in a separate video.